The battle between Apple and Fortnite continues as the iStore decides to blacklist the game.
You should have known we'd return. You thought you saved your little reality. All you did was prepare it for us.
Welcome everybody and thank you for joining me. So by this point I am sure that most people are aware of what is going on when it comes to this long and ongoing battle between Apple and Epic Games, who is the creators behind Fortnite. Now in my personal opinion, there is not really any good guys here. It is two bad companies with bad business practices going after each other. Now as for how we got here, well, for those who might not know, every app in the iStore is required to pay 50% of their profits to Apple. Epic did not like this and stated that the cut was too big, which it is by the way, and thus they decided to do a workaround where they bypassed the iStore model. This obviously did not go over well and ended with Fortnite being removed from the store. Now again, Apple does have bad business practices. For instance, if you have a game on the iStore and you are making money through in-app purchases, as stated before, Apple takes a 50% cut, and because of this some publishers have to push up their prices for Apple versions of their games or apps. Now most developers and companies also have their own websites where they sell their products for a much cheaper price, of course, because there is no 50% markup, but because of the iStore terms of service, you as a developer are not allowed to make the customer aware that there is a cheaper version of your product or game somewhere else. And if that is not anti-consumer, then I just don't know what is. Now as for this lawsuit, there is a lot of twists and turns, as in the beginning it was not just Apple involved in this suit but also Google, who was accused of the same things by Epic. Now since then Google has kind of fallen to the wayside, and so did Microsoft, who originally showed their support for Epic as they were going through the same thing with Apple, who prevented them from putting xCloud on the iStore without first submitting each individual game for review. Now that is as ridiculous as asking Netflix to submit every movie for review, but Apple did defend their position by stating that games are different as each game has their own unique way of generating revenue. But be that as it may, the battle between Epic and Apple raged on as the Fortnite developers sued them for unfairly restricting competition from alternative app stores, stopping developers from using their own payment processing services for purchases, and charging unfair prices for distribution of apps. At first things did look promising for Epic as they scored an early victory when the judges ruled that Apple cannot prevent app developers from linking to external purchases and payment systems. Since then everything else has been a victory for Apple. The court ruled that Apple is not a monopoly for mobile games, they do have the right to collect in-game fees, and that the contract between Apple and Epic was valid and enforceable, and that Epic went out of their way to break the agreement. After this ruling, Tim Sweeney, who is the CEO at Epic Games, started to backtrack a little bit when he realized that this battle with the iStore could lead to Fortnite no longer being available on the service at all. He paid the $6 million to Apple that was ordered by the court. He disabled Epic's payment server side and promised to adhere to Apple's guidelines whenever and wherever they release products on the Apple platform. He then asked Apple to restore the game on the iStore, and as you can imagine, this also did not go over well, and instead Apple decided to rub their victory in their faces a little bit with a response of their own. Epic committed an intentional breach of contract and breach of trust by concealing code from Apple and making related misrepresentations and omissions. Apple's legal rep replied, "In the decision, the court recognized that Apple had contractual rights to act as they did. It merely enforced those rights as Epic's own internal documents show Epic Games expected." The court further found that Apple's termination of the developer program license agreement and the related agreements between Epic Games and Apple was valid, lawful and enforceable. Following the decision, Mr. Sweeney has publicly said that Epic wouldn't trade an alternative payment system, a way to get Fortnite back on iOS. In light of this and other statements since the court's decision, coupled with Epic's conduct in the past, Apple is exercising its discretion not to reinstate Epic's developer program account at this time. Furthermore, Apple will not consider any further requests for reinstatement until the district's court judgment becomes final and non-appealable. Now, this obviously means that Fortnite could be banned for up to 5 years, as that is how long it takes for a case to become non-appealable. Now, after this, Sweeney did take his grievances to Twitter and said this is another extraordinary anti-competitive move by Apple, demonstrating their power to reshape markets and choose winners and losers. In a follow-up tweet, he said this is also a loss for fair competition and consumer choice. The loss of Fortnite on the iOS metaverse competitor alongside Roblox and PUBG Mobile has significant implications for the evolution of the new medium of our era. But that is where we are at, and unfortunately it looks like Apple will be able to continue to operate the way they have always. Whether or not you are a fan of Epic, a victory here could have meant a lot to small developers who are not worth billions like Epic and are being crushed by that 50% cut that Apple takes. On top of that, omitting Fortnite from the iStore could also be devastating for Epic in this ever-growing mobile market. But on that note, this is where I'm going to end it. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you would like to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing. And as always, please remember to stay safe, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and I hope to see you again soon.